gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities, Wednesday, April 22nd. Thank you guys for joining us. However you are watching and taking in the program, we always appreciate it. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have not subscribed, please do so. It helps us out a bunch. And also we're getting close to getting to 2,000 subscribers. That's the hope. I'm here real soon. So if you're checking out the show for the first time and you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. Also be interactive on YouTube as well. We've got a YouTube chat. The everydayers are always in there chatting up, talking everything you would think. And then of course, people stop by with great questions for guests, for myself, complaints, all those kind of things, suggestions. We love suggestions. So be interactive with the show as well. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. You can check us out on all the podcasting platforms as well. So whether it's iHeart, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, if you put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, you can listen to the show each and every day. I always suggest listening to the show might be better than looking at me when you're taking part in the show. So if you need to, and plus the weather is beautiful. If you're going to go for a run tonight, if you're going to do yard work, all those kind of things, download the podcast version of the show. Listen that way as well. Also, welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa. Big times in Central Iowa. The Drake Relayss officially underway. The track events get going later tonight or this afternoon and then into Saturday. All the way through Saturday as well. So a great time to be in Central Iowa, one of the best sporting events of the entire season. We'll talk more Drake Relayss coming up in just a little bit, but we are on the WHO streaming app. We are there each and every evening as well. So we appreciate you guys taking part and checking out the show as well. It's been a fun week so far. On Monday, we had Sydney Falter, former Iowa basketball great. She was in the Quad Cities on Monday evening as well. Grad assistant for Iowa this past season. Sydney was fantastic. Check her out. Tom Kakert was on that day. Also, Larry Hawley talking a little NFL draft as well on Monday. On Tuesday's show, yesterday, we had a great conversation with Owen Freeman. Owen, of course, the former Moline State champion with Moline now several years ago. Played 2 seasons at Iowa, last season at Creighton, and now has committed to play his senior season at Auburn. So we talked to him about that decision. What happened at Creighton last year? Asked him that question, got his insight about what he learned about himself during a tough season last year for him on the court at Creighton. And then we also talked about also how he watches his former teammates. That Iowa group was pretty close those first 2 seasons. So great conversation with Owen Freeman. If you missed it, go check it out. We'll take a look at some of the highlights of it later in the show today. So go check out yesterday's show. Pat Anger as well. Don Umlin talking a little wrestling as well. So yesterday was a bunch of fun as well. Coming up today, we mentioned the Drake Relayss. I wanted to focus a little more on the high school level today. The Drake Relayss get going. It should be an elite season at the Drake Relayss. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of big names that have broken records that are there. That should top heavyweight. This should be a fantastic week of track and field in Des Moines. The weather should be good for the most part, which is always a very good thing as well. Jeff Linder has been covering this stuff for a long time. Jeff does a fantastic job for the Cedar Rapids Gazette. So coming up in just a matter of moments, Jeff Linder will join us to talk about the Drake Relayss and kind of break down some of the high school stuff as well. Also, in hour number 1, a lot of people talking about Audi Crooks, and rightfully so. She's now at Oklahoma State, and she's going there for a lot of money, reportedly $1.4 million. That would make her the third highest paid woman playing basketball in the entire nation, in the entire world, basically. So we'll talk about that with Jake Brend from the Cyclone Fanatic. Also, what's going on at Iowa State as Bill Fennelly rebuilds his roster and what maybe the big picture is for Iowa State women's basketball moving forward. That and some transfer portal news and just his thoughts on the transfer portal in general, because this stuff is getting crazier and crazier by the week, by the month. So Jake Brend coming up in hour number 1 as well. And then in hour number 2, we're going to turn our attention to the NFL draft. My good friend Bobby Metcalf, former longtime sports writer here in the Quad Cities, now a producer in Columbus, a big Bears guy. We're going to talk NFL draft and the Bears coming up with Bobby Metcalf in hour number 2 of the show as well. Make a programming note. Tomorrow's show, a very special one for the Quad Cities, for myself. We will be live at the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities. The Chuck Long charity auction officially kicks off online tomorrow, runs through the following Saturday, so many great items to look at, bid on, help out the children right here in the Quad Cities. So myself and Tom Kakert will be at the Children's Therapy Center tomorrow for the show. We'll show you some of the great items. You can go online and check them all out, but we'll show you what they have and some of the awesome stuff. We'll also have a great conversation with Chuck Long about what the therapy center means to him, what this event means to him, getting close to 30 years doing it, which is amazing stuff. And then we'll talk Iowa football with the former Heisman runner-up, Chuck Long, on tomorrow's show as well. And then also on tomorrow's show, we mentioned the NFL draft. We've been trying to do something with that each and every day here on the show. The Athletics' Nick Baumgardner will join us coming up tomorrow on the show. A great chance to talk to him on draft day when it comes to where the Hawkeyes might land, what the Bears are going to do, what the Lions are going to do, all of those kind of things the Packers are going to do. So Nick Baumgardner coming up on tomorrow's show as well. So Chuck Long, Nick Baumgardner, and live from the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities for the Chuck Long charity auction. Tomorrow's show should be awesome. Make sure you guys tune in, join us, and also take advantage and look at what's going on online when it comes to the Chuck Long charity auction that will kick off tomorrow. Also want to mention the Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing is less than 2 months away. We have some teams still available. Head to GuyRandazzoGolf.com. Get your team signed up. It's at Highland Springs Golf Course, June 20th. A lot of familiar names from the world of sports committed to come and hang out with us and golf at the Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing. So check that out if you can. We'd love to have you join us on June 20th as well. So some news and notes, and not a lot to get to before we get to our Drake Relayss discussion, because I really want to kind of break down what the relays look like on the high school level with Jeff Linder coming up in just a little bit. But always news and notes when it comes to the transfer portal. And yesterday came news. Actually, that's not the one we're talking about. Let me figure out my graphics. There we go. Doing a lot here. Producing, directing, hosting, all those kind of things. Alvaro Falgueras has a new home, and it's at Louisville. I don't think it's a big surprise. He had been linked with Louisville for a while. Louisville's spending a lot of money right now. They've landed the big guy from Kansas, the point guard from Oregon. Now Al heads there. And I think the sentiment on social media for the most part yesterday was correct. I think Iowa fans were mainly, thank you, Al. And that's exactly the case. He broke or helped break a 27-year drought when it came to going to the to the Sweet 16. And that shot against Florida will be remembered by Iowa fans forever. Taking that a step further, the game against Nebraska will be remembered forever as getting to the Elite Eight, Iowa in the Elite Eight, and he made some big plays down the stretch. Of course, Nebraska with just 4 guys on the field, or the court, and the and one at the other end. And then going baseline where probably Ben McCullum was like, no. And the dunk against Nebraska to kind of seal the deal is something that Iowa fans will remember for a while. We've been over it. We've talked with Tyler Tashman about it, Tom Kakert about it. I believe it as well. He wasn't going to be able to make what he made last year. Iowa had to relocate some assets and some money. I think they would have kept him, and the door was open, but I don't think it was a great fit as many great games as he had stinkers as well. Illinois in the Elite Eight played 9 minutes, didn't score. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but it was a roller coaster ride when it came to Al last season. You see, just 8.4 points a game. So obviously the big plays late in the season, but as Al went, a lot of times Iowa went. And so I think 15-1 in games in which he scored double figures. So didn't average double figures. So we wish Al the best of luck at Louisville. They're going to get a fiery, talented basketball player. The only defection from the Iowa basketball team this past season when it comes to retention is Al. And he finds a new home with the Louisville Cardinals in the SEC. So are they? No, ACC, excuse me, the ACC. So congratulations to Al. And that's probably the last big shoe to drop when it comes to leaving. Obviously the portal is closed. Iowa has a spot left. We'll see what they do with that last spot on the roster. Illinois has a few spots to can fill as well. So all of those things interesting as we move through April and into May when it comes to college basketball season as well. To this week, the biggest event, one of the biggest events in the state of Iowa comes at the Drake Relayss, and they take center stage coming up this week. The events get going on the Blue Oval later this afternoon for the high schoolers, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, a ton of great action. And I wanted to catch up and kind of preview things. So we turn to a guy that's covered quite a few Drake Relayss in his time. So joining me now, a familiar face around the state of Iowa, Jeff Linder from the Cedar Rapids Gazette joins us right now. Thank you for doing this, my friend. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
It's a busy time. I'm catching you before you hit the road, head to Drake. Obviously, you'll be there all week. It's a special weekend in the state of Iowa, when it comes to the Drake Relayss. When I say Drake Relayss to you, what comes to mind? What is it for you and for athletes in the state of Iowa?
For me,
for you, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. I cover the high schools, and Rob Gray, who covers Iowa State for us, is his main gig. He does the college stuff and the pro events and all that. But I'm pretty much entrenched with the high schools. What does Drake mean to me? My dad was a track coach way back when, so I'm kind of biased towards track, kind of biased towards Drake. So, I'd go and watch his kids compete. I'm a Drake alum, so that's that means a lot. So I'd sit out in the cold or get a sunburn. That was always my first sunburn of the season, was as a student, was watching the relays. I ran the Drake Relayss marathon when I was a freshman.
Always is. That's life.
That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly. You look at it, Jeff, and it's year 116 of the Drake Relayss, year number 100 of Drake Stadium. And you mentioned you went to Drake. What is it about that? And I asked Mike J this, Blake Bolden this as well. But what is it about that Blue Oval? It's synonymous with track in the state of Iowa. I mean, you're going to get there Thursday morning, probably Wednesday afternoon, but Thursday morning. I always remember the mornings. They get there usually the good ones where the sun was kind of just coming up, and it was shining on the Blue Oval. What is it about that? That's a symbol of track that might be the symbol of track in the state of Iowa, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely, it is. And you think track, you think Drake Stadium, whether it's the relays or whether it's the Jim Duncan invite, which is a big deal, a week or two before the Drake Relayss and the state meet. And one of the best things that the girls union and the boys association did was combining the state track meet. It's the best state track meet in the country. They get it's full, and when you get something going like a Quentin Nauman chasing a 4-minute mile, and people know track in Iowa, and you see that he's on pace for something like that, and you got Mike J going nuts, and you got 15,000 people going crazy. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Jeff Linder joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Jeff, you look at it, this year, and we talked about the Drake Relayss last couple weeks, and it looks like you mentioned the Quentin Naumanns. There's some really high level elite athletes on the high school level at this year's event. Does it start with Quentin and what he did last year, and kind of talk? You just kind of painted a great picture, but that's a once in a, I don't want to say generation. That's a once in a lifetime athlete to go check out a Drake this week. What's it been like covering him? And how good and everything I hear, I don't know, but everything I hear is he's an outstanding young man. Tell us about Quentin and obviously being able to cover somebody that probably in a few years you'll be able to go, I covered him when he was back in high school. Yeah,
if he becomes like a NCAA champion or who knows, an Olympian or something like that someday, and he'll go down as one of the highlights of people that I've covered, and I've been doing it a while. And it's been really neat to see him grow and develop as a kid. I talked to him as a freshman, and he was a typical quiet freshman who, didn't really know how the interview process worked. And, by last year, he was a pro at it, and he's great. And he's able to, he's somebody that really feeds off the energy at Drake, and he's great, and he's a great athlete. But I'll say this, as good as he is, he's not a slam dunk to win anything this week. The way that the track is in Iowa, the way the boys distance events have really raised their level. You've got Keegan Decker from Iowa City Liberty. He's already gone under 9 minutes in the 3,200. There might be 2 or 3, 4 people that break 4 minutes in that elite mile. Wow. And it might take 3:55 to win it if the weather's good. And that's going to be an amazing race, and he'll be in the mix. The thing that Quentin Naumann has that nobody else has is that closing speed. And he might be somebody that runs the last lap of a mile in 55 seconds to win it. And he's just, I guess for lack of a better term, he's just going to out-tough everybody else if all things are even.
No, absolutely. Jeff, you look at it too, and he's going to Oregon. I believe his future college teammate is Des Moines Christian's Caleb Tenpass. That's just, and you mentioned some others in those distance events. Have you remembered, you look at the distance in this, a more elite event in recent years at the Drake Relayss? You kind of talked about it a little bit, but there's so many good, they're going to push each other as long as the weather cooperates as well.
Yeah. And it's going to be a really fast race. It's coming at a good time. They put it in that Saturday afternoon window when it's on TV. I don't know if it's NBC Sports Network or whatever.
I think it's CBS Sports Network.
CBS Sports Network, but it's at 3:15, I believe they moved it to. So that's coming at a good time. I think what's the weather? I think it's supposed to be in the 60s on Saturday. So all conditions should be for a really, really fast race.
Absolutely. Jeff, you look at some of the other elite talent. I know in your area, Washington's Grayson Hartman is the guy to keep an eye on when it comes to shot put, discus as well. You just and ironically, you have a great story up this morning about him as well at the Cedar Rapids Gazette. What have you seen with him, and another special athlete that you're getting to cover and should do good things at Drake?
Yeah. Grayson is a kid. He wasn't a state champion last year. He's only a junior now, but he worked a lot in the off season. He built a shot put ring for indoors so he can throw in the gym in the winter. He's been doing that. I guess one of the coaches says that if he wants to work on his technique, he'll throw off his back porch, his back deck or whatever it is, throw it into his yard. So he says there's just all sorts of shot put craters in the Hartman backyard there in Washington. So, but he's gone from being about a 56 foot shot putter last year. He's thrown 67 already this year, number 2 all time. And he's got his sights on Doug Lane, the Cedar Rapids Jefferson guy that way back in 1968 threw 70 feet.
Wow. He's got lofty goals. Check out Jeff's article, obviously, today and all week as you get ready to head up to the Drake Relayss as well. Jeff, you look at it, and some of our local people that in the Quad Cities I want to mention as we go along. In the 400 hurdles, JJ McDermott looks to go. He's one of the people that's gone under 54 this year. Also in the 400 hurdles, a good one for Quad City kids. Avery Bradley from Muscatine, one of the favorites in what should be a really competitive 400 hurdles. The girls 800 is wide open. I think there's a few from your neck of the woods as well. Davenport Central's Jolly Sullivan is the best time in the 800, 2:13:40 going in. Maybe some local kids, I think from your area, good in the 800 girls as well. What other things are you looking forward to when it comes to the events that you have circled? I always would go up there, Jeff, with my list of Quad Cityans that might do well, but I'd also have things circled. What are you most intrigued by after maybe the distance? And we mentioned Hartman. What are some other things of interest for you high school wise?
Yeah, I think the ones you mentioned all rank right up there. In my area, the boys shuttle hurdle relay is a biggie. Kennedy, Iowa City West, Cedar Rapids Wash are 1, 2, 3 in that event, and Kennedy and West are number 4, number 6 all time. They've been in the 57s already, so might take sub 57 to win that. Somebody that your area and our area both kind of share is Ella Hine from Tipton. She's really developed into a really, really good middle distance kid, whether it's the 400 or the 400 hurdles. She could be a factor in both of those. We've got a long jumper over here in our area, Mecklenburg from Linn-Mar. She's going to Iowa State. One of only 2 people all time that's long jump 20 feet, and she's getting to the point where she's doing it fairly regularly, and so she's great. She hasn't won a Drake title yet, so she'll be chasing that. But the boys distance events are huge. Those are the going to be the plums of the weekend, I think.
And those are Saturday for the most part, so we'll circle those. Jeff, when you look at and it's been something I always would struggle with at the TV station. Not struggle with, but Drake is so fun, and you go cover it, and you lock in. Obviously, when you win the Drake Relayss, it's across classifications, so it's a very special thing. I think, and you mentioned, and this is not a bash at the Illinois schools that are watching this, but having one state meet and having boys and girls there. You mentioned Iowa. There's things I don't agree with what Iowa does high school wise. Track isn't one of them. They definitely do it correctly. And I think that's special as well. You're a state champion. How do you balance it? How do you look in your head? You just looking at 2 different things? Is Drake more important than state? Is state more important than Drake? Are they both equally important? How do you balance that when it comes to the world of track?
I think state's probably the more important race to most kids. And with the evolution of the sport, I think for a lot of kids, the stuff that comes after the state meet, the HOCA meets and the national meets and all that in June, I think a lot of the kids now think that that's kind of their championship season, and maybe the state's almost a warm up for that, for the very, very elite kids. But I think the state meet is probably number 1. Drake is kind of the precursor to championship season. It's Drake, and then week off, conference meets, district/regional meets, and then the state meet. But most schools, most teams, most runners, most coaches put a lot of stake in April in getting events into Drake.
I know that weather-wise, probably Thursday night into Friday morning looks dicey, but other than that, looks okay. And maybe I'm probably going to be late enough, and I'm not a weather guy, and I love all of them, but I hate all of them. Mm-hmm. If you understand what I mean. I do. I love the guys I worked with, but it's a hard thing to do. It looks okay. I'm going to take you down memory lane. Do you remember what's the worst weather-wise Drake Relayss that you had to? There's been some bad ones, Jeff. There's been some really bad ones. Do you remember one or two that stand out that you're like, when I was back in whatever?
Yeah, back when I was a young kid. No, I remember in the 90s, Carl Lewis ran in the snow.
What year?
That was
what did you say? What year?
early 90s.
Okay, I think Mike J mentioned that. There was actually snow in the air.
Yeah, there was snow in the air. Carl Lewis was there, and how many elite athletes now would run in that stuff? With a worry of popping a hammy or whatever. But he ran it. He ran the 100, and I think he won it. But that was, I remember that. I was at the Burlington Hawkeye then. That was my pre-Gazette days. So that was early 90s. I remember that. 2 or 3 years ago, it was Thursday or Friday night. Everybody had to hunker down, and there was a tornado. Very, very heavy thunderstorms in Des Moines. It was either Thursday or Friday night. So, people stayed. We were, where the media is down there, and that was probably the safest place to be.
Yeah. And
the same year, there was a big rainstorm, and they called everything off but the last few high school events. And there was like a 2-hour delay. They brought the high schoolers back, and that was a blast. The stadium was barely full, but boy, they had, barely,
anybody there?
Mostly empty, but except for high school parents. But they had about 4 races in succession that were just faster than heck and just really memorable, and it was worth staying for.
No, absolutely. It's you go back and you look at some of the weekend's best, and that's what they have to deal with. They have to deal with the mental side of it, the physical side of it, all of those kind of things as well. I don't want to age you, young man, but you've gotten to do this for a long time. I want to take a bigger picture before I let you go, high school athlete wise, and that's maybe one thing. And I always try to work sometimes during March Madness and the craziness of some things you don't always, but I always try to work some type of high school angle into almost all my shows because that's what I love doing. You cover a lot of sports and a lot of different levels, high school wise. What is it about covering high school athletics that has been so special for you for a couple of years that you've done it? Not just a few. You're still young, so I don't want to date you. But.
High school kids. And I cover mostly high school girls sports. We crossed over. You got to meet those girls from Makokata during and after their state championship run.
Amazing kids.
Yes, and kids like that are why I keep doing it. And I don't know, college with the NIL and the portal. In college sports, pro sports have never really interested me as far as covering it. But with the portal and NIL and the professionalization of college sports, that's soured me a little bit. I've covered Iowa women's basketball for 19 years now, and have enjoyed it a lot. And Lisa and Jan have been great, and the kids have been great to work with. But high school sports are, my baby, my love. As a former high school, terribly average athlete, I guess it's just what I've always wanted to do, and I'm where I've always wanted to do it.
No, you do a fantastic job of it. Aubrey Croyman still owes me a guest hosting gig here. She could do a whole show by herself. She's
great.
She's such a great personality. It was so much fun to cover those girls as well. And that's what it is. It's special. And that's what worries me, Jeff, not to be the old cranky guy on this end, but like, I don't like the high schools when it comes to the announcements of the transferring and all the, that it's trickling down. Leave my high school sports alone. Let the good stories be good stories before they go to now college and do all the craziness and everything in between. Jeff, I know it's a busy week for you. This has been a lot of fun to catch up. tell people how they can get all the coverage, the stuff you have up today with Hartman and company, but also throughout the week. You're going to be there, I think you said Wednesday afternoon and all the way there till the end. Tell people how you can check out all your guys' stuff on the Gazette.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter, Linder. I'm sorry, JT Linder on Twitter. I still call it Twitter.
I do too.
Jeff.Linder. Let's see. Thegazette.com is where we'll have most of our stuff, whether it's me with the high school stuff, Rob Gray with the colleges and with the pros. And we'll be there all week. We'll have good photographers, good social media presence all week, and looking forward to it, weather permitting.
Jeff Linder, the Cedar Rapids Gazette. Thank you for doing this. I may bug you again sometime. Once you start doing this kind of, and technology, look at you. You're framed perfectly. You're doing better than some of the TV guys do. Jeff, I appreciate
Yep, got me in my kitchen here.
I love it. Jeff, I appreciate you. We'll catch up again soon. Be well.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Jeff Linder, the sports writer at the Cedar Rapids Gazette. He will have everything you need when it comes to the Drake Relayss and our area well represented as well. So, of course, the local media here will do a good job with the Quad Cities side of things as well. It should be a amazing Drake Relayss once again. We got more to get to. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about Audi Crooks, this money, $1.4 million, and also Bill Fennelly and maybe how he's slowly rebuilding that roster at Iowa State. We're going to do that with Jake Brend next, right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We'll be right back. For over 65 years, Linquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Linquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
or electrical,
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesdays have become Jake Brend Day, and it's a crazy time in the world of Cyclone athletics. Players coming and going, a lot of good, some bad. So I figured, and with what's going on with the women's basketball team and Bill Fennelly being, a Davenport native and right here in our own backyard, it'd be a good time to talk a little women's basketball with our good friend Jake Brend from off the.
I'm staying.
You're not going. You're not in the portal.
I tested the market, but I like where I'm at.
Did the Iowa fans not want you? I think you're good with the Iowa State fans. I don't think Iowa fans want you.
I think the Iowa fans would have made me pay to
take him back.
Join that beat.
We will raise money to take Jake Brend back. I said Jake Brend from Off the Air almost. Jake Brend from the Cyclone Fanatic joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Jake, I want to talk about Iowa State and the players they have coming in, and Bill Fennelly in general here in a second. But it happened to 36 hours ago, 40 hours ago. But I do want to bring up and talk a little bit about Audi Crooks. She officially commits to go to Oklahoma State. And I don't think it surprised anybody on the location. You see there 25.5 points a game, 25.8 points a game, 8 rebounds. Everybody knows how good she was for the Cyclones these last 3 seasons. But then came word, I think yesterday, that she's making $1.4 million a year. I know the reports, I think mainly true. What do you know about that? And Jake, I don't know if I don't know anything, but I don't know if there's schools that pay $1.4 million for their entire roster, more or less, for one player. Your thoughts on Audi Crooks in general?
I mean, I would say the location was surprising. Maybe not the day it happened, but so it happened what? Monday? Sunday? Sunday.
Yeah.
It happened Sunday, and I'd started to hear Friday that Stillwater was a possibility, and that's when it was really shocking to me. Once it happened, though, I wasn't too shocked, but it's just a weird location because Oklahoma State's, they've been good. They were a top 4 team in the Big 12 this year. They're traditionally above average to good, but nothing better than that, really, and they've gone all in. They've got another top 10 transfer coming in. They retained a player who I believe was their 3rd leading scorer, who absolutely would have been probably a top 50 player in the portal. So they're spending big money on their roster, and regardless of what Crooks is making, whether or not that $1.4 million number is accurate or not, I can't confirm, but I do know that I've heard it from enough places that I'd trust that it's probably pretty realistic. And I can say that that's probably quite a bit more than Iowa State's got with their entire roster this upcoming season. And if you ask me, I know I'm doing your job for you, but if you were to ask me, would you pay Audi like 80% of your salary cap? I'd say no. I don't think she's good enough of a player to build around 20% of other assets. If you're asking me that about senior year Caitlin Clark, I'd say, yeah, pay her 99% of the salary and we'll head on down to the local YMCA and find a couple women who can knock down shots. But Audi is such a one-dimensional player, and she is so great at that dimension, but you kind of have to get really creative on the other side, and you have to surround her with a lot of defenders, a lot of shooters, and it's something that I don't think Iowa State would have been able to do if she got what she probably commanded or wanted salary-wise heading into her senior season in Ames.
So that was a good question. I was going to ask you if you would have paid it, but I was going to also ask you, what do you think she was making at Iowa State, or what was Iowa State's offer like before? And I think I don't know anything. You can probably tell me, Dazzo, you're wrong, but I mean, she probably wanted to stay at Iowa State. I mean, she's been there for 3 years, could break records, all those kind of things. But money's about money. I don't know if it was solely about money, but what was the contrast? 1.4 million, one place. Was she going to make $500,000 at Iowa State?
Yeah.
Was she going to make 400,000?
Yeah, I really don't know what the numbers are. I do know that Fairway was paying her quite a bit of money, and that's something that I would imagine she loses. There's not Fairway down in Oklahoma. So I can't tell you a specific number. I would guess that of Iowa State's salary last year, she was probably making half that, maybe give or take 10%. So throw that number in there. I'm guessing in order to keep her this year, they probably would have had to pay her close to 75% of what their salary cap is. And that's all speculation on my end. But knowing, like doing the math in my head where she's making 1.4 now, knowing what Jamie Pollard publicly said Iowa State's rev share budget is for women's basketball, I know that Fairway could have definitely helped in that over-the-top cap. And she's someone who's true NIL. It's not NIL in quotation marks where you're like, yeah, do this commercial and we'll pay you fair market value. Whereas Crooks was legitimately getting fair market value because she is so marketable and she is such a big star. And that's something that she'll lose. She will still be a big star in Oklahoma, but she's not the hometown kid anymore. She's not that hometown hero. And I would imagine that marketability will go down. And that will not only damage her this year, which I know she's making more money than any 21, 22-year-old would know what to do with. But I do think it'll probably damage long-term down the road because, yeah, she'll still be welcomed back in Iowa, but it won't be the same. There's no way it'll be the same, and she won't be remembered as an Iowa State Cyclone anymore. And there's a lot of benefits as far as whether that's just getting a normal job in Iowa, whether that's hosting speaking events or camps. That market probably just won't be as strong for her now. And again, if you invest $1.4 million, well, it won't really matter what you do the rest of your life. But it is something that there probably should be a little more educated. And this is not a Crooks thing. This is an every athlete thing. But I think every athlete could definitely be made aware of how important it is to be in one spot for 4 years because, again, Iowans want to hire Iowans want to support Iowans, and if you're a 4-year Iowa State Cyclone, if you're a 4-year Iowa Hawkeye, you're going to have a lot more money to make down the road than if you were I'm a 2-year Butler Bulldog and then a 2-year Iowa Hawkeye. It's just not quite the same as the other way around.
It's funny, Jake, because you mentioned fair market value. It's something that I chuckle about because fair market value is what you're willing to pay me to do or that person to do. So it's such a loose term when it comes to everything that goes. We're going to talk about the portal, and now it's about ready to close last night. We're going to talk about that just in a second. The other thing that kind of popped out to me, again, reportedly $1.4 million. That would make her the third highest paid person in the world to play women's basketball. A couple players in the WNBA,
Crazy.
you know, Asia Wilson is one of them. Is when you look at that, is the WNBA, what's more popular, I guess? Like, would you say women's college basketball, or would you say the WNBA is more popular when it comes to revenue and eyes on it and NCAA tournament and all those kind of things?
I think women's college basketball is more popular, and the WNBA has certainly made strides towards that. Like, I've watched more WNBA the last 2 years than I had the previous 23 years of my life combined. But I still am way more locked into women's college basketball than I am the WNBA. And I think a lot of it, there's social dynamics of it where the WNBA seemingly can't get out of their own way when it comes to certain issues, and it kind of makes it hard to be a casual fan and follow it. Whereas women's college basketball, like, you cover Iowa State, you watch a lot of Iowa State, and then Iowa State's rivals become rivals in women's basketball too. So, like, I cheer against Kansas State. You know how it goes. And that's what I think the advantage that women's college basketball has is that you bring all these college fans under an umbrella. And if say Alabama women's basketball becomes great 1 year randomly, there's going to be a lot of Alabama football fans that start turning it on that wouldn't have otherwise. And that's the advantage that the college game has that the pro game doesn't, is if you're not in a pro market, if you don't have a reason to follow, it's kind of hard to get into. Whereas the game of college basketball, I think a lot of it's just the laundry. And if you're a fan of the laundry, you're going to be a fan of the team. You're going to tune in. You're going to buy season tickets. And that's why I do think you're seeing deals like this where it's not just Crooks. I'm sure there are several other 7-figure deals in the sport. And that makes sense why, because there are more eyeballs on it.
Well, it's funny because I think and I've talked to so many people that cover women's basketball, and Chloe Peterson covers the Indiana Fever. She's an Iowa, University of Iowa grad. And I said to her, like, you know, it's almost like Iowa is Indiana Fever fans. And she's like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's the college basketball fans more still root for, like, they fall in love with those players. So I think it translates and helped the WNBA, but it's still, like I said, I think it's college basketball, and it could be that way for some time as well. Iowa State's got to rebuild, and they've added several players. You don't have to run through all of them. I think, are they at 6 they've added, or 5? 5.
So they've added 5. They're at 9 players on the roster, I believe. Yes. So 3 returners, incoming freshman Macy Comito, stud from Carlisle, and then the 5 transfers. So yeah, my math major tells me that's 9.
Of the 5 transfers, and we kind of just talked money, and it wasn't like Bill Fennelly had a ton of money to go out. He was not Oklahoma State where you could go out and pay for a roster. How has he done? And maybe who's the, if you're an Iowa State fan, what's the transfer that you can say? I think I asked you last time, men's basketball wise, what men's basketball transfer will make the biggest impact? What women's basketball transfer should Iowa State fans be most excited about next year?
Yeah, it's a loaded question because it's still incomplete. They've got 6 spots left. I don't know if they're going to fill the entire 15-person roster, but I do expect them to get 3 or 4 more transfers. And there's a lot of talent still in the portal. I think the women's game moves a little bit slower than the men's game in the sense that this is all under one umbrella. So these men's teams are putting together their rosters, and you've got to have all these numbers in check. So sometimes there might be a university that's like, oh, we've got an extra couple $100,000 here. Let's go buy a backup women's point guard. So I do think that there's still some players out there that are capable of starting for Iowa State. But of the 5 that they've gotten right now, I would say Ashley Connor, the LaSalle guard, is probably the best get yet. 5'11" junior, average 16, 5.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals per game this past season on LaSalle. To me, that seems like she's your surefire point guard. You stick her next to Ariana Jackson in the backcourt, and right there you've kind of filled the most important position on the floor. Other than that, they've got some interesting prospects. Maya Babbitt from Kent State, she averaged 16 a game, was really inefficient as a guard this past season, but she was the team's first option. I don't think it was a great team. So who knows? Maybe you dial back the volume a little bit and she can be a pretty efficient wing. And then another big, Alex Ann Bissett, 6'2", 11 points per game, a few rebounds. She comes from Loyola Chicago. I think of the 5 they've gotten, those are 3 that you'd be pretty likely to see in the rotation come the 2026-27 season. Of course, still with a couple spots to fill.
You mentioned 9 players right now on the roster.
Yep.
I mean, by contrast, I think Iowa only has 8.
Yeah,
because they had 5. They add the 5-star freshman, and they have 2 transfers. So I think they're still only at 8 or 9. And you look around the country, yes, the portal is closing, but that's just to get in. There's still a lot of work to be done in portal season. And I think there's good basketball players still to be had. Big picture for Iowa State women's basketball. I mean, Jake, and I'm not picking on you. I think we both thought it probably in December. I know you're on here. I mean, this is the team that should get to the Elite 8. And this is Bill Fennelly's best chance. And here we are, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. I mean, I went past it. 4 months later, and there's new faces and 9 players. Big picture with this program, where's it at right now?
I mean, it's not in an ideal spot, obviously, when you have a team that was capable of making a second weekend the way we thought they were, and to have a player that goes and gets paid $1.5 million nearly, a point guard that's going to LSU and will probably be their starting guard in Jada Williams, and Addie Brown, who I'm sure is commanding a lot of money as well. Those are 3 All-American level players that didn't make it out of the first round. And that's not good. And now they're all gone, and you've got to fill those spots. And you've got a coach who is a legend and deserves to go out on his own terms. But we've seen older coaches struggle when they are at the closing stages because it can be more difficult to recruit. It can be more difficult to evolve. But at the same time, Bill Fennelly's Bill Fennelly, and he is Iowa State women's basketball. And I think he's going to want to go down this next year, whether it could be his final year, it could not be. I think he's got a big chip on his shoulder, and I think he wants to go make the NCAA tournament. And that's why you're seeing him bring in a lot of one-year players that are probably in a pretty similar spot that he is in a weird way that, hey, this is our last dance. Let's go do it together and go prove people wrong. And that's where I think they're in. And if if Fennelly's able to take this team to an NCAA tournament or have a pretty competitive year in the Big 12, where does that leave the next coach? And I think Iowa State is a pretty attractive job when you consider top 10 nationally in attendance for almost 25 years now. The support that they get, not from the fan base, not just the fan base, but also the athletic department as well. I think it's a pretty attractive job as long as Fennelly leaves it in a pretty good spot. And I don't see why he wouldn't. He picked up the program when it was ashes. Like it was nothing. It was the worst program in Power 5 at the time for college basketball. And now he's left it, no doubt, a top 25 job, regardless of what he does this next year. So it's maybe not as promising as people would have thought coming off of that Cy-Hawk win in December. But I still think that there is reason for optimism for this program as the new age will enter here in the coming years.
Jake Brend from the Cyclone Fanatic joining us on Off There with Matt Randazzo. Before I let you go, I want to talk to you about this whole college basketball transfer portal thing in general. Boy. Jeff, it's a loaded question.
I haven't been following.
No, right? Jeff Goodman, and this was on Tuesday morning, so there's still, and I know other people got in yesterday to the portal, but it was already over 2,500 people that got into the portal, players that got into the portal. Alvaro Voulgaris went to Louisville yesterday from Iowa. You see, I think it was a freshman from Auburn that got in the portal yesterday, and 2 hours later he signed with Vandy. Where are we with all this? It's not sustainable. I know I've talked about it with a lot of people. I think coaches are learning. I think they're adapting. I think they're trying to figure it out. But it gets more and more every year. It's not sustainable, is it?
It can't be. There's no way it can be sustainable. The numbers, I know evanmaya.com, great analytics website. He does great work over there. Has predicted that the NIL market has gone up 60% for starting caliber players in the Power 5. You can't go up 60% every year. The bubble's going to burst. I've seen The Big Short. It's a great movie. It doesn't last. And at some point, it either has to plateau or it has to crumble down like a house of cards. And that's where I still think the programs that are building from within, that are developing their freshman talent, that are finding hidden gems in the portal they're not going to come to your program and then ask for 3 times the amount of money the next year and demand you give it to them or leave. You've still got to find the right people, the right players. And I still think over time, those are the teams that are going to have success. Maybe Louisville next year is Michigan. And maybe it's just they spent so much money and they put together a team that is so good that they can't be beat. That's a possibility. Or they could be Kentucky from this year, who also allegedly spent $20 million and got blown out by Iowa State without their All-American, and honestly could have lost by more. So that's the beauty of basketball in my eyes. Where football, I don't know if the bubble will burst because I think there's so much Southern money, there's so much oil money built into football, and of course the TV revenue as well, that you have to spend to be able to compete on the national level. There is, like, I get it. Kurt Signetti, it's a Disney story, but it's not really. It's a Disney story if Cinderella's dad was a multi-billionaire and paid for the most expensive shoes and dress in town. Like, yes, it's great that he brought little old Indiana from where it was, but trust me, little old Indiana wasn't getting in anywhere without Mark Cuban. And that has to exist in football. There is a bare minimum you've got to spend to be able to build competitive offensive lines, competitive defensive lines, a good quarterback. In basketball, you don't really need that. Like, yeah, you need a bare minimum, but that bare minimum is not that hard to match when it comes to using your rev share dollars. Now, is everyone going to be at 20 million like I'm sure Louisville is this year, like I'm sure Kentucky and Michigan will be? No. But if you're in that 8 to 12 range and you're scouting well and you're retaining your talent, we've seen it. You can absolutely compete with the best of the best. And that's where I do think those teams that are spending 20 to 25 mil, eventually that bubble's going to burst because their return on investment just isn't worth it unless you're winning a national championship.
And you look at next year's projected top 5 or top 10, whatever you want to say, the majority of them have retention as a theme. I mean, Florida did a good job keeping their players. Illinois did a good job keeping their players. Michigan, I understand what you're saying, but it's funny because Michigan went out and got a point guard from North Carolina that nobody wanted because he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
And turned that. I mean, Morrow was a bench player at UCLA.
That's true. Michigan's not the best example.
They've done a good job of just develop. They spend, don't get me wrong, but they spend and develop. And I think that's the happy median with this thing. I'm still big with retention, and Iowa State did a good job with it. Illinois did a good job with it. Iowa did a good job with it. If you can get those guys in the door and recruit well, and then I guess, I don't know if a hometown discount's a thing, but I do know, I can tell you, I know players that want to be at a place, and so they're probably not looking to go elsewhere, or they will take a little bit of a deal to say, hey, you make it worth my while. I'll probably take less than that guy because then I can get there because I'm happy here. And I think TJ does a great job with that. Ben, short sample size, but I think he's doing a great job with that as well. Obviously, Brad Underwood's doing a good job with that as well. So my thing is Jake, and last thing before I let you go, I don't get how we can talk before we do this, and I can say we can talk about rumors and what's Al making, what's this person making, all that. It's weird that we're doing that. If that we don't know what the contract is or those type of things, because there's not enough rules and regulations to things. It went from being very closed and weird to the wild, wild west. Don't we? Like, I'm okay with all these kind of things, but shouldn't somebody know the checks and balances of what people are making where?
Yeah, and I think that's the next step in all of this. Like, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan.
I'm sorry.
It sucks.
I'm
Trust
kidding.
me.
I'm a Lions fan. Dude, you're good.
It's the reason I average 6 hours of sleep a night. I hate it. But regardless, I know what Stephen Jones, the general manager, is spending on certain positions. So the reason that I can get mad at the team is saying, like, man, our linebackers suck because we paid Dak 25% more than the market showed that he should have. And so I can understand why we don't have linebackers. I can be mad about it that there's no linebackers, but at the same time, I can understand that you only have so much money that you can spend on certain positions when you decide to do this. Look at the Minnesota Vikings. They struggle to pay their secondary because they're paying Justin Jefferson a lot of money. That's what they have to do. It's Justin Jefferson. We don't know that in college basketball. So when, like, you think about the fans that aren't on social media, maybe the older generation that are Iowa men's basketball fans, they're going to come across a link on Facebook that sees Alvaro Fulgaris is going to Louisville, and he's just bag chasing, and he's going after the biggest dollar. And what they don't understand is that it was mostly a mutual decision, and Ben McCollum had a certain number that he could spend, and he chose to spend it elsewhere. Whereas, like, generally we get that, but we still don't know the number. Yeah. We don't know that McCollum signed player X on the dotted line for this amount of money, so in turn, this player had to walk. We don't get that, even though we can generalize it, and that's, I think we need that, but at the same time, I get why the programs don't want it, because it's a competitive disadvantage. Unless you're the Texas Techs of the world, and you're just going around hanging whatever out of your pants to show, look how much money we spent. We're so much cooler and better than you. In most cases, though, it doesn't and shouldn't work like that. I know of an instance at Iowa State where when the athletic director shared the budget after Jimmy Rogers' press conference, an introductory press conference, an agent of a player on the team was like, that's all the money you got? There's no way you're going to be able to pay my guy. And of course, everything got worked out. But when that number gets out, when general numbers get out for players, then those agents will just use that number against coaches. And it's a big problem. And the fans are mostly shielded from it, even though they get the brunt of the force.
Yeah. Well, I've had people, and I don't know, and if I'm trying to think of a player, but you can be more critical of players, and people say it gets crazy. You know, this guy's making $5 million. Well, no, pump the brakes. He's not making $5 million. I had people complain to me about Brendan Hawson, and the money that, and I think I might know what he was making. I don't know though, and the money that these people were complaining to me about wasn't anywhere close what he's actually making. So that's the weird thing, is these reports get out and you don't know what it was. I'm pretty sure Al was going to have to take a pay cut to stay at Iowa. And that has nothing to do with the amazing memories he left Iowa fans with for 27 years. It's like professional football. You can't pay a player for what they did for you. You've got to pay for them for what you think they're going to do moving forward, and it probably didn't match up with all of that as well. It's crazy. I never thought we'd get to that point. You mentioned Dallas before you leave. Iowa State players in the draft, the big defensive tackle, Big Orange, whatever. Yep. Where do you see? I've seen him mocked in the second round a lot. Your thoughts on that? I don't want to ask you about the Cowboys because nobody wants me to talk about my Lions and you talk about the Cowboys, and that's just bad. So we'll stick with Iowa State. Obviously he's the top guy off the board, and then where else from there when it comes to Iowa State prospects? Is that it?
Probably the only guy on the board. It was and that's not even like an Iowa State thing. If Matt Campbell stayed, it was pretty well known that it was a very young roster last year, and that I guess was a big part of the appeal for the 2026 season was that it was pretty much only Orange that was going to be going to the NFL draft. So yeah, I've seen Big Citrus mocked anywhere from the 2nd to the 5th round. So expect him to go either Friday or pretty early Saturday morning.
You've seen him 2nd to 5th?
Yeah, these mock drafts can be so all over the place.
And thank you for correcting me on the nickname, because I said Big Orange, Big Citrus. If he's there in the 3rd round, as a Lions fan, I don't even know if you need a tackle. You take a value like that. I believe in the 3rd round. I think he's or 4th round. I think he's a Friday. He hears his name Friday, doesn't he?
I would agree. I would think so. But again, I like the NFL draft. I don't love it as much as some people do. Like Scott Docterman he bathes in the NFL draft. It's unbelievable.
I'm nuts about it. But I'm a Lions fan. So for a while, that was my Super Bowl. Like, I didn't look forward to the playoffs. I looked forward to the draft, and we screwed it up every year. And now we're good at it, and I'm even more excited about it. Just as a nice way to tease ahead, on tomorrow's show, Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic will talk all about these. We'll find out where he thinks. I believe I had him on a month or so ago. He loves Big Citrus. Loves Big Citrus. I think he had him in the 2nd round in his thought process right then and there. So NFL draft starting Thursday. It goes through Saturday. Jake, I appreciate it. This Audi Crooks stuff had me I wanted to chat with somebody about it. And you bring up great points when it comes to how much money there is to spend overall and what percentage you can give to one player. So I appreciate it, my friend. Enjoy the Cubbies tonight. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dazzo.
All right, buddy. That is Jake Brend. And as I mentioned, the Bill Fennelly thing, and being a Quad City, and it's not just, Iowa State women. It's also a guy that has a lot of ties to our area, kind of trying to, and like he mentioned, Bill Fennelly's not going to want to end his tenure in Ames on a bad note. So I'm intrigued to see what he does coming up the next couple of years, or maybe 1 year, if that's the case. We got more to get to. You watch an OTA on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. The NFL Draft is now just over 24 hours away. One of the best events of the year. I love it. As a Lions fan, growing up, it was my Super Bowl because they didn't ever make the playoffs and they always drafted high. And so it was exciting times for me. But it goes Thursday through Saturday. Of course, round 1 is Thursday night. Rounds 2 and 3 Friday night. And then 4 through 7 come on Saturday. And we're going to talk a lot about the draft this week. Coming up tomorrow on the show, the Athletics' Nick Baumgartner will join us to break things down even further. But I want to talk about the draft as much as possible this week. On Monday, we had Larry Hawley on. And today we're going to talk a little Bears and everything else with a familiar face here in the Quad Cities. Bobby Metcalf, former Quad City sportswriter, joins us from Columbus, Ohio. How are you, my friend? How much do you miss me? Go on.
I miss you.
Oh,
I'm great. I'm doing great. So
you look good. It's draft week. And it's, I kind of said that off the start for Lions fans. It was our Super Bowl. I would say that, and it's the same for the Lions, but for so long, I would have Bears fans tell me, like, I don't care. We're going to mess it up anyways. It doesn't matter who we pick because we're going to mess it up anyways. Is there more confidence this year after a good draft class last year that maybe they're not going to mess this thing up?
Well, first of all, I never had the attitude they're going to mess it up. I was always excited, just like you were, because they were always picking in the top 10 and top 15. And it's like, I can basically kind of predict who they're going to go for. And, I always thought the only one I thought they ever screwed up was the Trubisky draft. I loved the Justin Fields draft. I loved a lot of these drafts they've had. They just haven't worked out. But you're right. Last year, getting Luther Burden, Colson Loveland, Monangai in the 7th round was a great draft. It gives you a little more confidence. I'm not used to watching the Bears pick this late, so it's kind of like who are they going to go for? I don't know. Are they going to go? What are they going to do? I don't know. They needed defense this year, so that's another question too. Because Ben Johnson obviously can evaluate offense. How is he on the defensive side? So that's what's kind of going to be interesting to see this year.
We'll start looking at some prospects, maybe give our thoughts on a player or two. And you mentioned it's really hard at 25 to kind of narrow it down who's still there, who's not, all those kind of things. But we'll do that in just a little bit. But you mentioned last year, I think, and if anybody doesn't think this, I think they're silly. Ben Johnson had a heavy a say in what was going on draft-wise. And it's easy on offense. I mean, he got the guys that he was going to work with, and you just mentioned the 3 people they hit on offense last year. They hit on the tight end, the wide receiver, although I think people are still overhyping him a little bit, but that's neither or there. And then obviously the running back in the 2nd round. Don't give me that look, Bobby. Defensively, can they do the same?
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up. What was your question?
Defensively, can they do the same?
That's the question. I mean, I think there are a lot of holes on that defense to fill. I mean, we saw it last year. Their defense was terrible. I mean, they were winning games because Caleb Williams turned into Iceman in the last 2 minutes, but they're having to come back from 2 scores down against the Packers late. I mean, never thought, that Bengals game where they gave up 40 points. It's just, you never had any confidence in that defense, and there's so many holes. I like some of the free agent moves they made, shoring up that back end, but it's kind of like what position do they attack on the defense? And then that's kind of the big sort of uneasy feeling as a Bears fan about what they're going to do.
You look at it, Bobby, and I'm a big proponent of you build through the draft, and I think that started last year for the Bears. I think that's probably why they were a little ahead of schedule than what people thought last year, is because they did hit in the draft. I know some Bears fans, and they did some things in the NFL free agency, but they didn't make a huge splash move. The safety's a good pickup. Linebacker will do well, but they didn't make that huge move that I think people yearned for, wanted. But you build through the draft. They're going into this draft. I think they need at least 2 starters in this draft. Am I nuts? I mean, 3, 4 would be great. 3 would be great. But you're looking for at least 2 starters probably on defense in this draft, aren't you?
Yeah, I think you have to get somebody up front. The Dexter Lawrence thing, you talk about the Max Crosby deal that didn't happen, which I'm fine with because they would have to give so much for that. Dexter Lawrence would have been nice, but they're never going to, they have the 10th pick in the draft to give up. So, I mean, they have to do something about it up front because Montez Sweat is an okay player. I don't think he is what any Bears fan wanted him to be coming over from Washington, but that up in the trenches is where they were so weak last year. I think they do need to make some move. I mean, I think a linebacker would be great, even though they signed Devin Bush, but I think the back end, they lost their 2 starting safeties. We need somebody across from Jalen Johnson. They need somebody on the other end, a shutdown corner. I mean, there's a lot they need on that defense.
Absolutely. Bobby Metcalf joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Are you a mock draft guy? Do you go look at as many as possible? And I have people that I feel like I gravitate more to. Peter Schrager's one of them. Are you a mock draft guy? Are you watching as many mock drafts as possible right now?
I'm keeping an eye on things. Like, I like looking at mock drafts. The funny thing is, though, I mean, by pick 7, a lot of times you're like, whoa, okay. That's a guy who I didn't think was going to go in the top 10 who just won the top 10, or man, this guy's falling out of nowhere, kind of what's happening. So like they're fun. Like, mock drafts are always fun before the draft. I don't put maybe as much stock in them as some people do. I mean, it's easy to pick maybe the first 3-4 picks in this draft, but after that, it's kind of like, well, where do you go from here?
No, I completely agree. The Peter Schrager one came out this morning. Bears number 25 overall. We'll talk about that pick here in a second. Position wise, you kind of talked about defensively. I think odds are, I scrambled to my phone. I guess you can gamble on the draft. I didn't know that. Maybe I did, but you can.
Yes, you did.
I think the Bears are. I think it's minus 130 for them to take a defensive lineman. I think after that it's a safety would be next, and then offensive lineman. Those are how the odds go. Are you that guy that wants that stud left, or I should say defensive end, to play with Montez Sweat to work up front? Are you looking at the secondary positionally, or do they go left tackle? There's supposed to be a bunch of good left tackles in this first round, and as of right now, there's still a question mark maybe at left tackle, injury part of that. But where do you go positionally before we get into specifics of who might it be?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some, like you said, where they're projecting an offensive lineman. I mean, I think, honestly, I think this might be a draft where, because they're picking at 25, they might just go best player available. I mean, and that might be, if there's if there's an offensive lineman that they love who's fallen to them, they might pick him. If it's a defensive position player that they're not a fan of, if it's a safety and they're like, we'd rather go with this guy. I mean, I think everyone, again, it was an offensive side, but you look at last year and everyone was picking, Tyler Warren to be the guy. and the Bears went with Colson Loveland. Everyone at the time was kind of questioning it. Well, I mean, they both had great rookie seasons. So I think it's one of those things where I trust Ben Johnson a lot more than I trusted Ryan Poles on his own, and Ryan Poles with Eberflus as his sort of right hand man. So I trust him a little more.
You just mentioned, Bobby, you just mentioned, though, you said I trust Ben Johnson. I mean, this is Ben Johnson's ship, isn't it? Like, I think I keep going back to that, but like, I know Ryan Poles has a say. Obviously, he's the GM and all that kind of stuff, but isn't Ben Johnson running the show, or is it less now because it might be more defensive guys?
I think it's Ben Johnson running the show. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I mean, he's proved a lot year one. I think there's still going to be a lot of conversations to be had in that draft room. I don't think it's just Ben Johnson saying, we're taking this guy. No ifs, ands, but he's not Bill Belichick at this point. Let's put it that way.
No, I agree.
Personally, I think they need to go up front. I really just think they need to, the trenches, you say it's one through the draft. It's also one through the trenches, and they can get better on both sides of the ball up front.
The Peter Schrager draft that I'm looking at right now, at 25, the Bears go with TJ Parker from Clemson. Obviously, he'd play opposite of Montez Sweat. He says we might see a little push on edge rushers at the end of the first round. Chicago could land Parker with the hope that he gets back to his 11 sack production in 2024. He only had 5 last year with Clemson. Do you like? I always have a guy going into the draft for my Lions. I have a guy, and it's easier, like you mentioned, when they're drafting high in the draft. It's easy to have a guy that you want. It's going to be harder back here, but kind of guessing on what people might be wearing, all those kind of things. Where do you see? What are some guys you like for the Bears this tomorrow? I almost said this week, but tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about one guy on the offensive line who I've seen talked about. And I've also seen him being talked about the Lions, and it's a name that people will be familiar with is Caden Proctor.
People are so hot and cold on him. Go ahead.
I don't think I would look if I was picking him in the top. If I had the Bears in the top 12, absolutely not. 25, that's decent value for a guy who, has done what he did, despite the kind of back and forth that he might have with some of the Iowa fans, but. Defensively, I wouldn't mind look, in the back of my mind, I'm just like begging and hoping that one of these Ohio State guys just plummets, because but they're all going to go in the top 10 probably.
It's crazy. Would you trade up?
Yeah.
If you're Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, would you trade up in the draft? I'll tell you why I wouldn't, but would you trade up?
No, I wouldn't. I would just pray that they dropped me. I wouldn't trade up. I don't think it's worth that.
And why I say that is, if I thought the Bears were a player or two away, then I would trade up and all those kind of things. Not being mean, I just don't think they are. I think they have too many holes on the defensive side of the football. I'm not saying they're bad. Don't get cranky with me, but if they were stacked and ready to go, I thought the Lions 2 years ago, maybe last year, going into the draft was like a player away. They were set most places. They needed to find a player. I think the Bears need help defensive line. I even think interior defensive line, they could eventually add somebody in the 3rd, 4th round. I also think in the secondary with safety, they need help. Linebacker depth, they need help. Offensive line, I think they could use some help. And I still think they need to get a receiver at some point. I know people are crazy that think that I say that, but Khalif Raymond's 32 years old and he's your number 3. I love Khalif Raymond. I'm not bashing him, but so I think the more picks, and if you look at the Bears, they got 4 of the top 89, is that right? And then after that, they just got 3 picks. Not saying that it's okay to only have not have a lot of 6th and 7th rounders, but I just think that when you build through the draft, you want to have as many bites at the apple, if that makes sense, with the position they're in. You mentioned Caden Proctor. Unfortunately, Bobby, I have readers now, by the way. I don't know if you know that.
Wow.
They almost fell off. Yeah, it happened overnight, man. It was crazy. It happened overnight. So I have my cheaters. They have Caden Proctor. Traeger has the Lions trading up from 17 to 13 to draft Caden Proctor. I don't mind Caden Proctor. I'd even take him at 17 and trust Brad Holmes and company if I'm a Lions fan. But I don't want to give up draft capital. They'd give up a 4th rounder this year and a 2nd rounder next year to move up 4 spots for Caden Proctor. I didn't love that at all. What was the other one you mentioned?
Well, I
would like
the Ohio State guys, but but if you're talking about realistically for the Bears, I mean, I've seen some with that Oregon safety, Dylan, Thieneman, possibly. You've got the other edge rusher from Miami, Akeem Mesidor, as possible first-round guys. But then looking kind of deeper down, mind seeing them take like Logan Jones in a later pick from Iowa. There's or even Caden Weegan. I mean, a couple of guys like that. That's a guy who great returner. Maybe you put him in some of these gadget plays under Ben Johnson's offense. A cornerback from Arkansas is Julian Neal. I think would be a nice pickup later round. So there's some good pickups to get on the depth. But I agree with you that the defense needs to be addressed. And you're right. I think they need their offensive piece on receiver. DJ Moore was great. I love Luther Burden. I think I'm higher on Luther Burden than you are.
I'm not.
I think he is.
I'm not a hater.
I think he is.
I just think
I think what he did down the second half of this. I think he did down the second half of the season. He was developing just great, and I think he could be a huge piece here moving forward. Now he's going to have to slot into that number 2 role. Roma Dunze is going to have to play a bigger part. He can't sit out 6 weeks with a foot injury like he did this year. So there's some hole. They're not. I'm excited. I think they're going to be solid. I think they're a good team, but there's a lot of holes, and the luck of last year. You got to be a little better, and you can't keep trying to win games in the last 2 minutes.
No, and it's a first place schedule. We'll talk, big picture wise, it's an interesting, fascinating division once again. I know a lot of people are very high on Emmanuel McNeil Warren. He's a safety out of Toledo. Obviously, Toledo has a pretty good track record when Quinyon Mitchell's playing for the Eagles and other people that have come out of Toledo of late. So that's somebody I've seen the Bears mock to a lot. I also see him in the 2nd round several times as well. The other safety from Oregon that went to Purdue seems like 18 and Minnesota is just kind of matched up with Dylan Thieneman to have him head there as well. So it'll be really interesting, Bobby, to see where exactly everything falls to and gets to as well. You mentioned Logan Jones. I wanted to bring up another local product for us. Gabe Ackus from Illinois. Defensive end. I've seen him at number 50 for the Lions. I know that people love him for the Lions. Depending on what the Bears do with their first round pick, if they win safety with the Toledo safety in the first round, I think Gabe Ackus would be a really interesting selection for the Bears at either one of those 2nd round picks if they come about. Where are you at with those 2 2nd round picks? Are you good with 2 bites of the apple late in the 2nd round? Can they get creative? I think they could probably, piece not 2 of them together, but 1 and maybe a 4th and move up in the 2nd round. I think Ben will be aggressive. Your thoughts when it comes to the 2nd round of the draft for the Bears?
Trade him. If you can figure out a way to package it and move up, I'm all for that. You talk about many bites of the apple, but you also want good bites of the apple. And you mostly you get a starter in round 2, but if you can move up and get a guy, like McNeil Warren, and just someone who you really can trust, I think it's worth it to get, if you lose a pick to do that. So I'm all for trading.
I think if the Bears can get a good starter on defensive line, a good starter at safety, and depth at tackle, that's a heck of a draft. Maybe young depth at center, because obviously Bradbury's your guy this year, but you're right. Logan Jones to develop and sit for a year and watch and get ready wouldn't be a bad thing at all. And then maybe wide receiver. And wide receiver depth is great. You look at, that's where Ben Johnson's worth his weight in gold. There's going to be some dude, Amon-Ra St. Brown's pretty good. Like, I know that he's not Luther Burden, but Amon-Ra's pretty good. He was gotten in the fourth round. Fourth round pick. Ben Johnson knows how to get guys late in the draft and everything. I think, would you be happy? And then, and I said the Bears aren't one player away. But man, if you got 2-3 starters out of this draft, then it makes things a lot more interesting come this fall as well.
If they can get 2 plug and play day one starters, another guy who maybe is like a Luther Burden develops, because Luther Burden wasn't a day one starter, on paper, guy who develops, and then the depth. I mean, they are shallow across the board. They're shallow at receiver. They're shallow with what happened on the offensive line this year. They're shallow up front. They just don't have any depth at any position. And so, if you can get a guy, a couple of guys to help shore up some depth, that's going to be a big piece, because I don't want to be seeing look, nothing against Nashawn Wright. Love the guy. And I'm glad he got a contract, but it's not a guy I should have been on the field as much as he was.
No, I completely agree. Hey, you're in Columbus. That's where you're at now as a producer. The Buckeyes in Traeger's draft, and I know we've referenced this, but there's probably 5 first-round picks. There's 4 in the top 10. Is that? I mean, right now he has Styles at 4, Reese at 5, Carnell Tate at 7, Caleb Downs at 8. That's. How did they not win a national championship, Bobby?
Well, all those guys outside of Carnell Tate were defense. And I mean, the offensive line was a question mark all year. Julian Sane was a Heisman candidate, so I'm not going to take anything away from him. But that Miami game, and then special teams was really, if you want to answer the question, special teams.
Yeah,
they couldn't hit a field goal against Miami and lost that game. I mean, they had that game in control, and then they missed a field goal and lose that game. And I think everyone in Columbus, I mean, I've asked the same thing. I'm like, good God, you're going to have 5, very possibly 5 first-round picks, 4 in the top 10, and that's never happened. And not even did you not win a national championship, you didn't play for a national championship. I mean, it's crazy. I think there's a lot of Buckeye fans around here who are pretty salty about that. But these dudes are studs. I mean, I think that Arvil Reese is going to be – I think Schrager's got him way too low. I think Arvil Reese is going to the Jets. Sonny Styles' combine was absurd. I think it's one of the best combines ever by a linebacker. Hell, his brother, Lorenzo Styles, had a great combine. He's not going to be a top – probably might be a 3rd or 4th round pick, but he had a great combine. They just showed out. It was crazy.
And on the opposite side of it, Bobby, Indiana obviously has the first overall pick, and their wide receiver will go, sometime in the first round, but that's it. I mean, it's crazy to look at. That's it when it comes to obviously the coaching was really good as well. Before I let you go, how do you watch the draft? I know you'll probably be working, but as a Bears fan in the past and in general, I'm the guy that I think last year we had a draft show. This year, because of the fact, and for viewers wondering why you're not doing a draft show tomorrow night, we are doing the Chuck Long charity auction kicks off tomorrow. So online. So we're going to be doing our show tomorrow from the Children's Therapy Center in the Quad Cities. So excited about that. It's a big show for us there. We weren't going to turn around and go do another one. So I'm going to be at home with the kids tomorrow. And I'm banning phones from the basement. I don't want anybody telling me that Twitter told me 5 minutes early that this was going to be the draft pick. Or do you have a draft memory? What do you like to do when you come to watch the draft? I'm back in the day. I know this sounds crazy, but I preferred Saturday and Sunday. I preferred just spending my weekend in a basement watching the first 3 rounds on Saturday and then the 4 through 7 on Sunday. What's your draft memory, or how do you like to watch the draft before we let you go?
It's stretched out too long. I'm going to go out and say that right out. It shouldn't be 3 days long. I liked it when it was 2. But anyway, that's here and there. No, I mean, I love it. The first round, I usually will watch. I'll definitely watch until the Bears pick, and then sometimes I tune off depending. But this obviously now it's the 25th pick, so I'll be watching almost the entire draft. I usually watch most of the draft first round. And you're right, I love the other the other days. Saturday, I'll probably be locked in. I won't be working. I'll probably just have the TV on and be watching it. See, my top draft memory, as you said, the Bears have screwed up a lot of drafts. I mean, I remember sitting and watching one in college. I couldn't tell you what draft it was, but I just remember sitting there and watching like the entire thing from start to finish. And, obviously the Caleb Williams one. You get Caleb Williams and Roman Dunze back-to-back, in the same draft. That was a great draft. And I'm going to say I love the Justin Fields one. I mean, I was sitting there in my apartment, like just saying, come on, Bears, draft Justin Fields. And then I think they traded, I want to say, to move up. And I'm like, oh, are they doing it? Are they doing it? And then they announced his name. I was like, thank God. I was like, the Bears finally made a good decision at quarterback. And, we know how that all played out. But, those are a couple of good ones. I mean, then you probably had some good ones too.
Well, I remember they drafted Roy Williams and Kevin, God, I can't think of his last name, the running back, in the first round. And I'm in college, just out of college, and I'm like, we were back. That didn't turn out well. So many that happened that didn't turn out well. I don't know. Recently, I remember they picked Hutchinson a few years ago, and then they had another one later in the first round. And so we were thrilled with Hutchinson. He got down to 2. We got him. We're good to go. And I'm upstairs. And I just happened to grab my phone because I had to go pick up a kid from a practice and then hurry back for the late second round pick or the late first round pick. And I looked, and all of a sudden the Lions had traded up, and that's when they got Jameson Williams. And that was kind of cool as well. And that ended up being a good draft. So it's.
Do you remember Barry Sanders draft?
Very, very, very little. I mean, he was 89, right?
Yeah.
So I remember every year Barry. That was the beginning of my sickness, is what we call it, when it comes to the Detroit Lions. Nobody warned me. People always ask me about, and I'll let you go, but how I became a Lions fan. My dad grew up in Detroit, moved to the Quad Cities when he was young, but we've always had cousins that live up in Detroit, so we would always go. It would be Labor Day weekend. It would be Barry Sanders, the Silver Dome. We'd get together with cousins. We'd watch the Lions, and nobody warned me. I feel like it's their fault because they could have said, "Hey, come here." Like, if you know what I mean. Like, I would even say, like, if you see somebody who goes down the port road that you do, you pull them aside and say, "Hey, you don't want to do those kind of things. I made those mistakes. You don't need to do that." Nobody. But here I am doing the same thing with my kids. So I guess misery loves company. So Bobby, I appreciate it. Don't work too hard. I know the Buckeyes have a big night in Columbus. And we'll catch up with you again real soon. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That is Bobby Metcalf talking some NFL draft, as we mentioned, tomorrow on the show. Bobby and I are just two fans that love it, that are going to talk about it tomorrow on the show. I guess we have an expert. I know we have an expert with Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic joining us. So make sure you check out that show. And again, tomorrow we're going to be live from the Children's Therapy Center here in the Quad Cities for the kickoff of the annual Chuck Long charity auction. Tom Kakert and myself will be at the Children's Therapy Center. They have everything that's online when it comes to the auction sitting right there, displayed right there, that we're going to go over some of the things, encourage you guys, great items for sports fans, for Iowa fans, all of those kind of things, NFL stuff, everything you could possibly imagine. We'll go through that. We'll also have a great conversation with Chuck Long. We'll talk to Chuck about obviously the event, but then also Iowa football in general as well. And then Nick Baumgardner on the show tomorrow as well. So tomorrow's show, really excited about it. That comes your way, of course, 10 a.m. live from the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities. We get more to get to on a Wednesday edition of OTA. We'll be back right after this.
This summer, light the fuse on something bigger than fireworks. It's red, white, and you at the John Deere Classic. July 1st through 5th with world-class golf and 4th of July energy you can feel. Wednesday is Youth Day, and kids 15 and under get in free with a paid adult. After golf, concerts on the course rocks the weekend. Carrie Underwood headlines an All-American 4th of July celebration. And Old Dominion closes out Sunday. Stars, stripes, summer tradition. Get tickets now before they're gone at johndeereclassic.com.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Wednesday in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, April 22nd. The track events at the Drake Relayss get underway later this afternoon. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, a lot of great stuff. So if you missed the beginning of the show, we caught up with a guy who's done it a ton, Jeff Linder from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. We'll be covering it big time. We kind of broke down the elite big picture of the Drake Relayss. We mentioned some Quad City kids as well. So a Drake Relayss preview at the beginning of the show if you missed that. Also, Jake Brend on the show today. Jake talking a lot about the Audi Crooks, the money, rebuilding Iowa State. And then we talked big picture portal-wise because it's probably not sustainable. So we got Jake's thoughts on that as well. And then NFL draft is now 24 hours away-ish. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. The NFL draft kicks off, I believe, 6 o'clock. Maybe it's 7. Maybe it is 7. I should go look. But either way, I think it's 6. Anyways, it should be fascinating. The Bears will do a lot of stuff. I don't know if we hear a Iowa Hawkeye or a Illini standout or a Illinois standout tomorrow. But Friday could be busy for that. Saturday, very busy. Got like a fly bugging around me. Good television. Saturday could be a big day for that as well. So tomorrow on the show, we talked about the draft with Bobby Metcalf. Tomorrow's show is pretty important to me. We're going to be at the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities. We're going to help kick off the Chuck Long charity auction. It'll run online, I believe, 10 days. Starts tomorrow, gets done Saturday. So do the math on that. Maybe not 10, but the following Saturday. So we'll check out some great items. We'll have Chuck Long on the show. Tom Caker will be there with me. So it'll be a bunch of fun tomorrow on the show. Also, we will talk a lot about the NFL draft tomorrow. Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic will be on with me tomorrow to break down what the Bears might do. Iowa, Illinois, excuse me, all those kind of things. So big show coming up tomorrow on OTA. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll recap what's going on in the draft. We'll look ahead to some spring football practice in Iowa City and a whole bunch more on Friday as well. So 2 more big shows to get to this week as well. Another reminder, the Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing is coming up soon, June 20th. I'm going to be talking a lot about it. Go to GuyRandazzoGolf.com. June 20th, Saturday of Father's Day weekend. You'll see plenty of familiar faces from the world of Iowa athletics and Quad City sports and all those kind of things. It should be a bunch of fun. So come join us. We got some teams still available. So get signed up ASAP, GuyRandazzoGolf.com. It always fills up. It will fill up. So don't wait around. Still 2 months away. But jump on it, do it now, so you can join us and have a whole bunch of fun. So again, we want to thank you for watching today's show. We want to thank our sponsors for allowing us to do this show each and every day. And we will see you guys again tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow's show from the Children's Therapy Center of the Quad Cities, 10 a.m. Great cause, great stuff in the auction. I promise you it's going to be a fun show. We'll see you guys tomorrow.